Welcome to the Create with Katrina Julia show by Fit Life Creation, where we talk all the things on wellness, faith, marketing, business, and travel to create a life and business you love. I've been there, friend. I've walked from fear to faith, self-hate to love, corporate to calling, and bondage to freedom, along with transformation in every area of my life. I'm right here with you, walking along on my own path to creating. So tune in so that you learn how to create a life and business you love, hands-on. Let's create it.
Worthy are worthlessness and what you think about yourself. And is it sometimes both in the same day, multiple times over? Friends, I absolutely relate. I am just like you, being and navigating this human journey. And how many of us can say, things like, things or life or timing has not quite turned out how we imagine. In some ways, more incredible, but in some ways, more challenging, more difficult. And being real, I'm very clear that we all start off, in a sense, with a different deck of cards, whether it's, being Caucasian versus being African American versus being Latino versus being in the United States versus being in Central America versus Europe versus Africa versus Asia, being raised by one parent, being raised by both parents, not being raised by any parents. We all walk into this world, not even walk, we're birthed into this world and then crawl and then walk through this world. And let's be real, sometimes we're still crawling through different aspects of our journey, even as adults, and even screaming, yelling like the baby or wah or goo goo gaga, depending on, where we are in different aspects of our journey. And a lot of this year, as I've been walking out and experiencing, the phrase "I'm divinely disciplined," I talked about this a bit on the last episode, but really felt pulled to talk about this even more because I feel like so many people don't talk about this enough, and the feelings of worthiness versus worthlessness and where they stem from or originate, and the incorrect thinking, the trauma or the misbeliefs, or if that's even a word, that we somehow picked up or originated, from culture, from family, from friends, and took on, and how it affects us day by day, as people living out life, as men, as women, as multi passionate entrepreneurs, and what results from that. And so, this is an unscripted episode. I don't have a blog on this, I don't have another video on this. And there's simply some bullet points that I felt were being divinely downloaded to share. And keep in mind, this comes from a number of different things that I'll reference as I go along. It comes from so much healing myself. One of my recent episodes, I talked about it's okay to not be okay, and therapy and EFT and EMDR. So I definitely encourage you to go back to that. A recent episode and blog post, not so recent, maybe 10 or 20 back, but it's also on the blog. You can type in Warrior Woman of Faith. I dive deep into that there. And then several faith tips, tools, and tech that I reference in the link in the show notes. The very first link in the bit.ly Create It Like a Boss is 75 plus tips, tools, and tech that will keep you busy for hours, days, weeks, months, and years to come. I promise you, because it's literally a culmination of all the tips, tools, and tech that I've dived through the last 7+ years. So there's your homework to create it. So first and foremost, when we think or talk about worthiness versus worthlessness, I want to talk about thoughts. And as I've been walking out, my phrase for this year, I'm divinely disciplined, I've become even more aware and even more heightened to my thoughts that impact feelings, that impact actions, and also in reverse actions that I'm taking or not taking, how I'm feeling about myself or situations or circumstances, then what is the thought or the lie behind that? Romans 12:2 tells us, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Hold on, I misquoted that, and I don't want to misquote that. And sometimes it comes to me in flow, and sometimes I want to be sure I have it exactly correct. Okay. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you may test and approve God's good, pleasing, and perfect will. Thank you. It came back. And that's from the NIV. And I am fully aware that not all of you that are tuning in, listen, or believe in God, and I fully honor and am grateful for you. Know that you are prayed for regardless, whether you listen to a social media episode, whether you listen to a launch strategy, and know that everything behind this is faith-based. But at the same time, I've likely been where you are, where I wasn't exactly sure about faith. I double dipped. I was double minded. I explored all the things. And you can definitely dive into my episode and blog post on transformation from the inside out, and so much pulling from God. I joke, but not joke, that God left the 99 over and over for me, the one, repeatedly, because I kept straying. So I definitely get it. And there is absolutely no judgment and nothing but love, compassion, and grace. But at the same time, at the same time, no matter what you believe or don't believe, I want you to get real about the thoughts that are driving you into how you view yourself and your worthiness versus your worthlessness, and where those thoughts came from, and are they the truth? One of the things I speak over myself daily is I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm a beautiful, wonderful child of God. And that's from Psalms 139:14, chapter 139, verse 14. And even if you don't believe, I highly, highly recommend you read Psalms 139. Just Google it. It's such a blessing. It's so much speaking life over you. And Sarah Reeves has a beautiful song. You can Google it on YouTube, Psalm 139, Psalms. And she literally sings out the verse. It helped me so much in 2019 and 2020, and I still listen to it from time to time. And then also, as I talk about that cycle, thought, feelings, actions, that can go any number of ways. It can be a thought is driving your feeling, is driving your action. It can be a feeling is driving your action that is rooted in a thought. And it can be an action that is connected to a thought that is driving a feeling, and all of the above. And as I've been walking out, this phrase, I'm divinely disciplined, anything that is pulling me away from discipline, and discipline, I heard this quote years ago that discipline is the highest form of self-love. And it really hit me, because if you think about it, it's so true. Because if you say you have a vision for something, and or a desire, and or a goal, even if the outcome of the actions you are taking isn't happening or coming out exactly as you desire, you are not going to quit, because you know that that vision and desire is in your heart for a reason. And one of my favorite verses is Psalms 37:4. delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And I truly believe our desires are divine. The more and more we tune in with our creator and the divine, and that they are aligned to our purpose, they're aligned to serve, and they come with a focus on love and community and service. And so when we're not disciplined to a desire of our heart that is for our highest good and is aligned to faith and the creator and, et cetera, like one of the things I think about often is the fruits of the spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So for example, let's take faith out of the equation for a minute for, some of you, right? If you say you want to lose weight, okay? Like this is real basic. And I think all of us will align on this, hopefully. If you say you want to lose weight, just like I wanted to for years, but you keep doing things that are the counter opposite of that, meaning you binge eat, you don't eat, or you drink alcohol, or you eat things that are unhealthy, or you don't work out, that is the polar opposite of what you say you desire, and you're going to feel better. So what is really at the root of that? It's trauma, it's feelings of worthlessness, it's feelings of fear of being seen. And I come to you from a space of compassion and love and grace and getting it, because for years, like it took me 10 to 15 years to finally get to a space in 2014, when over a year and a half, I changed and replaced habits and dealt with those feelings and thoughts and actions of worthiness versus worthlessness, and of, combating those fears of being seen, to lose 55 plus pounds, to stop drinking alcohol, to realize it was all for a purpose much greater than me. And all of those things now have stayed aligned for 7+ years. Versus I am in the process of rewiring, revisiting, redirecting those things in romantic love, in love for myself, in romantic love, in community and friends, as well as in finances, on a journey towards financial freedom. So I look at those examples of wellness, or I look at the examples of purity, and I'm applying those things to reshift and rewire in other areas. Versus for you, it might be like, hey, you're great in finances. You're financially free, which you may think, okay, that's crazy, Katrina. I've listened to you in the past. You're an MBA, you're a CPA, you had all these external evidences of success, of, all these different roles, positions, making other brands 6 to 8 figures. But here's the thing, friends. If we don't believe we are worthy, we will always drop back or drop down to the internal state of what we believe we are worthy of, whether that is in wellness, in faith, in wealth, in love. And there are things that are revealed to us for healing, for trauma, for release, for freedom. One of my favorite verses is Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not allow yourself to be burdened by a yoke of slavery. And my life verse is perfect love drives out all fear. 1 John 4:18. So my challenge to you is, in any area of life that you do not have yet the results that you desire, or the aligned actions, or the divine discipline, or the flow, where are you fearful? Where do you believe you are not worthy? Where is there things of trauma or incorrect thinking or healing that needs to happen? And with that, the next bullet point I jotted down earlier as I was divinely downloading the intention for this episode is boundaries. So in that same vein, when you think about what I talked about with wellness, What are the boundaries you set or don't set for yourself? And a lot of this also goes with time. Like years ago, when I was 55 plus pounds overweight, working in corporate as an executive, I would, you guys, often work 80, 90, 100-hour weeks and not eat and overgive and overserve to the point where I was so depleted in every way. And then I was resentful of serving exponentially, not realizing that it was coming from a deep state of not feeling worthy unless I gave to my own depletion to people. Like, we are called to love our neighbors as ourselves. Well, if there's no love for ourselves, well, how can we love adequately, no matter what you believe? If you're depleted to the point of literally like a car running on E, then how can you give joyfully? If you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating right, if you're not moving your body, if you're not fueling adequately, all of those things matter so radically. And then recently, as I've been diving into worthiness, into the areas of love and community and finances, and even like, for example, how my business model is built, it's built very intentionally with those lessons in the past from boundaries and over giving and over serving. But at the same time, still providing an abundance of value and information. For example, 600 plus episodes on the show for free that you can download and listen to for free. It's just like talking to me one on one, but you're not paying me $300 or $600 an hour. Or you don't have to call or wait for anything. That's all there. Hundreds to thousands of hours. The same thing with my freebies library. The same thing with like over 10 plus webinars for free that give you a preview into my courses. So there's free, a boundary point of payment to where if you desire to go into deeper relationship with me and the community, you pay. And I'm worthy of that. You're worthy of that. And we all get to choose as entrepreneurs or as business owners or as employees how we manage our time. I decided years ago, I typically very rarely do meetings on Mondays and very, very, very rarely on Fridays, because those days are set for strategy and or wrap up and very intentional clearing and regrouping. Or like I talked about how my business model is set up from the free to the preview to the paid, and then from $35 to several $100s to then thousands of dollars per month for whether it is more intimate things like the CMO or management or CFO, or retreats or ongoing brand engagements that typically start at $7,000 plus. Because I know that there is multiple entry points wherever the person is, wherever you are. So that's giving you the invitation, freedom to design your life and business, whether you are an employee or an employeepreneur or an entrepreneur. And even like, for example, like typically my speaking engagements go at $7,000 plus per speaking engagement. At the same time, sometimes I freely choose to do something where I see mutual value of community and connection and will pour into people during that 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then I am quick then to say, hey, here's my blog. Here's my show. Get on my email list. Look at the Create It Monthly program. That's an investment of $100 a month. Again, $25 a week, 2 lunches, or 3-4 cups of coffee. So that is, again, my invitation for you to consider and think about where and how you give up your time. And that goes to, and some of the things I had to come face to face with also was how I gave up my time in the past in friendships and in relationships, and thinking I always had to give, give, give versus simply being worthy as a human being worthy of receiving, being worthy of being taken care of. And a lot of that for some of us goes like I was born to two immigrant parents. And then also culturally, so like years ago, we didn't talk about personal development, or we didn't talk about therapy, or we didn't talk about these topics as avidly. I just dove into the book, The Worthy Project. I highly recommend that book. I talked about it on my last podcast episode, and I can't wait to listen and devour the Worthy book from Jamie Kern Lima when she puts it on Audible. I definitely recommend you go listen to her and Ed Milet on his YouTube channel. So Ed Mylett, and then search for Jamie Kern Lima on his episodes. He has several. Then the other thing, I started really diving deep into the last several weeks and months. So January through March of this year, I 10x'd my income compared to last year. So I was so excited, so grateful, and like, whoa, like I'm seeing the transition, the transformation from things last year. I'm seeing the shifts in worthiness. I'm seeing the shifts in self-worth and confidence, but also all the different things happening, as I shared earlier in the episodes, with flow, with being divinely disciplined, and things I'm recognizing that, I get to heal, and some of the books and the process I'm walking through. But then when March, April, May, I experienced the polar opposite. I started to, or like reverting back to some of my past experiences, I started to again dive deep into my worthiness. And some of the things, as I was digging deep into like worthiness versus worthlessness, I started to unearth again different trauma connected to words spoken over me when I was 12 that I thought I had healed. But keep in mind, we're often like onions. There's layers upon layers upon layers. And as we level up or rise in different areas or seasons of our life, this comes up like no different 2020 through 2022 when I was traveling full time. A lot of this was coming up into my play and adventure and limitlessness. But now, as I was experiencing this into my finances and flow and wealth, I realized where there was new layers again. And then I started to unravel the consistent themes of worthiness versus worthlessness of let me make sure I say this right. Overspending and or under earning. So let me repeat that. Overspending, so chasing and repeating with your money a perpetual habit of I'm not enough. I'm never enough. Like yes, it's like this weird dichotomy of yes, taking leaps of faith, but at the same time, if you're consistently overspending, you don't have savings. And when I say this, I'm saying this to myself. You don't have savings. You will give to others, invest in others, and then not have enough for yourself and your own expenses repeatedly over years or months or weeks. And or you have a great salary. Like this also happened to me like several times where you have a great salary or you're receiving income. And of course, there's different seasons or different moments for this, but I'm talking about when it is a perpetual that you were the last person on the list. That you have a great salary, you are pouring into others, and then there's a still habit of I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough, and you're still overspending by buying all the designer things, investing in all the programs, even if you're applying it all, and then also going into debt. So that there is never an experience of more than enough. There's never an experience showing up in your life of overflow, meaning, oh, there is a salary. When I say salary, you guys, I'm just saying creating wealth. So Deuteronomy 8:18 talks about we have the power to create wealth, right? So there is an overflow of receiving from what you are creating, from how you are serving. There is an overflow of savings, $1,000, $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, 6 month savings. There is an overflow of, if you have debt, the debt being paid. There is an overflow of not needing help, in fact, giving to others. There is an overflow of you having more than enough. And when I started to really dig deep, especially like I was aware of this last year and the year before, and I was definitely slowing down and adjusting things. But when I went from like one extreme this year, January, February into March of 10x versus the same time frame last year, to then like reverting back to some experiences from last year and the year before in 2020, I was like, whoa, what is happening here? Like, I want to stop this pattern once and for all of feast or famine. And I want to stop this like one extreme to the next. And I want to get to overflow. And so I started dissecting, and I'm still dissecting every single thought, every single feeling, every single action. And is it coming from abundance? Is it coming from love? Is it coming from, I am enough? I am worthy. I'm more than enough. You are more than enough. You are more than worthy. And then so that's overspending. And then the other one, and this was like the author from the Worthy Project. Let me get her name. Hold on. You can get it on Audible, Worthy Project. I talked about this in the last episode too, but not to this aspect of finances. Her name is and I like it because she dives into very practical things. It's Meadow DeVore, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. The Worthy Project, learn your value, own it, celebrate. And the other part is under earning. So, for example, I've also gone through, so I talked about the weight earlier. So the instability I experienced there, as well as in love, as well as in different other situations or circumstances or purity or value, when I started to dive deep and see how that instability or that roller coaster was showing up in the experiences in different areas of my life, I was like, whoa, this is also my finances. And despite the MBA, the CPA, the brand results of 6 to 8 figures, I was like, wait a minute, let me dig deep. Why not only overspending roller coasters, but why am I also experiencing like earning roller coasters from over, like maybe not over that, I wouldn't say that. Like we're all worthy of, whether it's tens to hundreds of thousands to millions to billions of dollars with the aligned faith, feeling, and actions. We're all worthy and capable, through discipline and hard work and determination and transformation and blood, sweat, and tears, and worthy of being paid to be us. Like I talked about earlier this year of being paid by Google for content I already created, like 4 figures. And I sent them a pitch for 5-6 figure plus contracts. And as I've been taking these aligned actions in these proposals, and even have had this year a $1 million proposal for a year-long project with the travel bureau, and just submitted a $1 million investor project with 43 North for a year-long program. So as I started to dig deep into all this, I'm like, okay, I see all this progress. I see all this growth in self, and worth and worthiness. But I started to dig deeper of, okay, I want to heal this, these incorrect thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions, because I want to stop the habit of under earning. And many of us, if we're honest, we've all experienced this, and digging deep is not fun, because many of us will divert to distraction, to like I did years ago, whether it was sex, whether it was food, whether it was alcohol. But when we start to eliminate these distractions and really dive deep and face the things, it's really, really, really uncomfortable. And I even realized after I was back from while I was traveling, I realized, I was traveling full time. I'm like, all this travel of going through 3 continents and 10 countries when it wasn't the best ideal time, but that was what my soul needed from a number of ways, it wasn't the best ideal time, both personal and practical. But again, everything happens for us. I realized where parts of that was a distraction to not face certain things of fear, shame, or guilt, and how I was judging myself. And that was one of the reasons why I felt pulled to come back to Atlanta for a year. And even now, as I'm getting ready to travel full time again, I'm doing it in a very different vein. Like as of this recording, I'm going to Playa del Carmen next, possibly then Los Cabos, with aligned with the fitcations and contentcations and retreats and other projects with a Mexico Insider. And then I may go see family in Europe, but I'm going at a way slower pace and I'm doing it way more intentional with community. And if I'm being pulled to stay in Playa del Carmen for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I'm willing and open to do that. So I invite you to really start to dive deep. Where in your life are you aligning to worthy feelings, thoughts, and actions, or worthlessness? And where are you self sabotaging and not facing, or perhaps numbing through different activities, be it social media or others, friends? I'm coming in hot with fit and contentcations and retreats, calling all my creators to CEOs, boss babes, and multi passionate women entrepreneurs. If you are ready to experience the ultimate blend of a getaway or vacation with fitness, creativity, and relaxation, get ready because our fitcations, contentcations, and retreats are here to take you on a transformational journey. We've got a Fitcation coming up September 10th through the 14th in Los Cabos. Join us for an adventure that combines fitness and a vacay like never before. From assessments to meal plans to chef experiences to workouts on the beach and by the pool and active adventures like our glass bottom boat kayaks. Our Fitcations will elevate your well being and leave you feeling transformed like never before. If that's not enough, or maybe you're looking for more, we've got a contentcation on the heels of the Fitcation September 14th through the 17th in Los Cabos. If you are a content creator and you are looking to fuel your creativity, this is for you. Not only will you be at Instagrammable locations with mastermind workshops with AI, chat GPT, templates and content, creating Instagram reels, scheduling out 15, 30 plus days of content across and during the retreat, you will be blown away. And let's not forget where the retreat is in Los Cabos, with beachside experiences, adventures, city tours. Unleash your imagination, gain incredible perspectives, and take your content creation to new levels to create it like a boss. Last but not least, because maybe you want to spend a lot more time in Los Cabos, we've got a retreat August 31st through September 7th, right before the two Cations, where you can elevate your mind, spirit, body, and soul with our transformative retreat experiences. This retreat combines it all. It combines mindset, wellness, marketing, business, and travel along with the adventures. Our retreats provide space to relax, rejuvenate, and connect with incredible community. From empowering workshops to all inclusive experiences to immersive activities, you will embark on a journey of self discovery and transformation. Mention the podcast for 10% off when you complete the assessment at the link in bio and or fitlifecreation.com/retreats. And in the link in bio, you can find it via transformational retreats. And if you do any two of the experiences, you get $1,000 off, friends. Yes, $1,000 off. So let's create it on occasion. Because part of what I started to recognize in myself after I came back from my travels beyond that was, wait a minute, like a day to 2 days to 4 or 5 days to 7 days, depending on the month and depending on the weather, especially, would get me kind of down in the dumps sometimes. I would numb out on watching movies or Netflix, and I recognize, like, ooh, I've never done this. And this is a disassociation, and this is a numbing. Because it's different if I'm doing it for the joy or connecting, with someone or watching it with a friend or something. But if I'm doing it knowingly feeling unworthy, fear, shame, and guilt, if I'm being real and honest, and if you are too, that's not a vibe. So in any event, I invite you to leave a review on the show so more people learn about Create It Like a Boss. And tag me on social at Katrina Julia Fit, at Fit Life Creation, at Create It Today. And as always, friends, remember, create, transform, and inspire because you are born to.
All the chats on faith, wellness, money, marketing, business, and travel so you create a life and business you already. Head on over to the blog, the podcast, and the freebies to jumpstart your transformation. If you're ready to dive into the online courses, the live events, or the retreat, and if you want to create with our community on an even deeper level, definitely check out our internships, our influencer collaborations, management, and brand engagement. Let's create it.